Okay, Mayor Watson joins us now. Jim Watson, watching this unfold like many other people around the country. What are your thoughts about, did you think it was going to have to come to this kind of enforcement, Mayor Watson, to get people to actually move? And the question is, I know you don't direct police, but many people are wondering how long it's going to last and what it's going to look like in the days ahead.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show, Graham. Obviously, we don't know how long it's going to last. I'm very impressed with the measured approach the police have been doing over the last day and a half. It's a tough job they have. They're being hurled insults and abuse and so on. And it's pretty cold out there at the same time. So I was relieved to see a lot of the trucks moving both on their own and also being towed away, because that was a symbol, I think, of the strength of the organization. And to take those trucks away from Wellington Street so that we can start bringing order back to that important street in our city is vital. And there is, this is not over by a long shot. As Jeremy just showed, there's lots of people. It's almost these gangs wandering through different parts of the neighborhood. My message to them continues to be, go home. If you have a truck, go and pick it up, because it's going to be impounded. And under the Emergency Act, we have the right to sell that truck. And quite frankly, if I'm asked my opinion on selling property like that, absolutely, to pay for some of the cost and to help with some of the residences and the small businesses who have suffered greatly. So the bottom line is, so far it's gone well, but we're coming into the evening, and that always attracts people that are not that kind and pretty nasty. And to answer your question specifically, I think, we knew, I think early on, the first couple of days when they decided they're not moving, that this is going to be a nasty group to deal with. And we've seen that time and time again, even the way they're treating reporters. It's really quite disgraceful, their behavior, and they should leave the city.
Just so I'm clear, you would be in favor, if any trucks are seized, of selling the trucks to offset the cost. Did I hear that correctly? Absolutely. That's one of the provisions, as I understand, in the Emergency Act that allows us to do exactly that, because these people have cost the taxpayers of Ottawa millions and millions of dollars. And that's only police costs. That's not counting all of the extraordinary costs the city has to absorb: bylaw, fire, paramedics, and public works people. We see some City of Ottawa snowplows now going into Wellington Street because, of course, the snow piled up over the last 24 hours. That street has to get clean. Those people are all on overtime, and it shouldn't be up to the taxpayers of Ottawa to pay for these extraordinary costs through their property taxes. We should ding those people who have caused this chaos over the last 4 weeks.
Mayor Watson, Angie Seth here. I want to get your response, your reaction to, and we're hearing this from a lot of our reporters out there, that a lot of families are showing up once again on the scene there. I've got a statement. This is from the Children's Aid Society of Ottawa, and this reads, I'll read part of this for you, that the Children's Aid Society of Ottawa is in constant communication with police to help ensure the safety and well-being of children in the downtown core, and is prepared to assist any child or youth brought to a designated place of safety. At the time of publication, they have not had to intervene with regards to children or youth connected to the demonstration. No children or youth have been transferred to the care of the society. But they do have teams on standby, quote, in the event that a child or children are either at imminent risk or become separated from their parent during police action. Castle's goal is to reunite families where it is safe to do so and as quickly as possible. As police action unfolds, Castle continues to urge parents to make the necessary alternate care arrangements if they become unable to care for their children. Your thoughts there, Mayor Watson, and your message to Ottawa residents?
Well, I thank the Children's Aid Society for being on standby, but it really is the height of irresponsibility on the part of the parents. Think about this for a minute. Bringing children down to what in essence is a riot on a street that is, where there's police officers and there's pepper spray that's being used. I just cannot understand the rationale, or the lack of rationale, in the thinking of a parent who would bring a child and put them in harm's way. It's just completely irresponsible. This is not some, Santa parade or some festival. This is a serious police operation. And, it's bad enough that you have adults that continue to push the police around and fight for their ground. And I'm glad to see that the police are not giving up ground. They're putting the fence back up around the cenotaph as well. But for parents to even think about bringing their children to something like that just boggles the mind.
What's been going through your mind through all of this, Mayor? We mark, it has been just a horrific 2 years with this pandemic. This is Family Day weekend, which many look forward to as a time to spend with family, you know, in celebration and laughter and cheer. But that's not what your city is experiencing right now, or hasn't been, at least for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, my first thoughts are, of course, with the first responders and the police, that they continue to do the great work they're doing and that they don't come in harm's way. We've seen a couple of officers that have had minor injuries I was briefed on a few hours ago. But, you know, we also, quite frankly, even though I'm fed up with the protesters, we don't want any of them hurt or killed. We want this to end peacefully, but that's going to happen with the cooperation of that last holdout of individuals, mostly men, who don't seem to understand that this is over. It has to be over. People are fed up. They've caused such pain and angst amongst the residents of Ottawa, particularly in the central core and Centretown and so on. And, you know, I just, you know, argue with them again, go home. Mm-hmm. Go back and lobby your provincial government. Lobby sensibly. You know, this kind of thug mentality of trying to get your way is proven once again, you don't get your way. And so I hope that they heed the message before it becomes dark again, and they don't get involved in any other irresponsible or illegal behavior, and they just get out of town.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. As we continue to wait, Mayor.
I know. I think, you know, listen, the public have been patient, but their patience has run very, very thin. You know, this is, as you pointed out, Angie, this is a Family Day weekend. People look forward to going skating on the canal. We missed all of Winterlude, which is not only a fun event for the community, but it's a major economic boost to our city. Tourism in Ottawa is our third largest industry. And over the course of the last 4 weeks, you'd be hard-pressed to find any tourists coming and staying in hotels in Ottawa. So it's been a body blow to the tourism industry, to the broader retail sector. I know that the federal government is working hard. I don't know if there's been an announcement yet today to help small businesses. They really need our help. The businesses in the Central Core have suffered greatly, first with COVID and a lockdown, and now with this protest and another lockdown imposed really by the truck drivers who have harmed a lot of these small businesses. And sadly, some of them will not survive because they were just hanging on by their fingernails. You know, Graham and his station here in Ottawa did a great job promoting local businesses, takeout and pickup and so on. And quite frankly, that saved a lot of these businesses because otherwise they would have zero customers. So we have to go and make sure that the other orders of government provide the necessary funding, both for the small business community. And I've had some very good discussions with Yasser Naqvi and Mona Fortier. Mona is the president of the Treasury Board. Yasser is the MP for Ottawa Centre. They've been working very hard to come up with a proposal. And they're, you know, interestingly, their ridings, as Graham knows, are the two hardest hit ridings, Ottawa Centre and Ottawa Vanier. So we've got two really good local MPs that are working on a plan for Ottawa because Ottawa restaurants and businesses and retailers have suffered greatly. And the employees, we need to help them because... Sorry, go ahead, Greg.
Sorry. I know. I want to make an assumption that in the next 48 hours, in the next 24 hours, the protesters will be gone. I don't know what the number is, but let's just suggest it is, and I'm not asking you to put a time limit on it. How long would you be comfortable with the perimeter around the city and the roadblocks being in place? How do you go about making a decision at all levels of government to ease those? Because under the Emergencies Act, you've got 30 days, maybe it'll be shorter. Do you have any sense of that? Because those are quite disruptive, as you know, for anyone trying to get around anywhere. There's the map of it right now in the downtown core.
Yeah, for some reason I've lost the visual. Hopefully you can still hear me.
Yeah, Mayor, we've got you.
Okay,
and we see you.
Right. Okay. Well, you know, Graham, that's a good question, but it really will be up to the police to recommend to us when those checkpoints open up. We don't want to do it too soon. As you know, in Windsor, they still have a fairly large outside police presence there. We're going to have to require that for a certain period of time because once they're gone, and we hope they're gone sooner than later, there will be people that will want to be copycats or they'll want to sort of come back and visit. And we have to make sure that we have the capacity this time not to repeat the mistakes of 4 weeks ago when they just sort of show up and they're unfettered access to the most important street, one would argue, in Canada.
Mayor, we're just showing our viewers live shots right now. This is Wellington. You're seeing a very, very large contingent of police officers there walking down Wellington towards Bank. We also know that, and I'm just getting the update here, a police update, a presser will be happening actually at 3 o'clock, so in about 15 minutes' time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be hearing from the Ottawa Police Interim Chief Steve Bell on the police enforcement here to end this demonstration. What are you going to be looking for, Mayor, from this update from police as we move forward on this? And again, we're showing live shots to our viewers right now of this large group of police officers moving down Wellington Street towards Bank.
I stand to be corrected, but my last information was the press conference was going to start at 3:30.
Yeah, that's what we thought so as well. We just got an update here that it looks like it's going to be at 3 o'clock.
Okay, it's a bit of a moving target. Yeah. Well, you know, I'm quite impressed with Chief Bell, our interim chief. I think he has done a very good job working very closely in the Incident Command Center with the RCMP and the OPP. And I do want to thank our municipal partners from across the country. My understanding is they're from the West Coast to the East Coast, mostly from Ontario Police Services. I've had discussions with, I thank John Tory, for instance, today for providing the mounted unit that we've seen in the city over the course of the last 24 hours. So our fellow municipalities have been very, very generous. They understand the siege that we're under. I think Chief Bell will give a factual update in terms of number of arrests and vehicles moved and so on, and talk a little bit about some of the challenges his officers are facing under extraordinarily difficult circumstances. You know, there's always lots of questions from the media in terms of what are the next steps. I think it'll be difficult for anyone to answer Graham's question. When does this, the perimeter open up to everyone? We don't want to do it too quickly, and we want to make sure, particularly on Wellington Street, I suspect we're going to have to sit down relatively soon and figure out, once we've cleared all of the junk and the tents and the hot tubs and everything else and the trucks out of Wellington, what are we going to do in the short term to provide greater protection to the parliamentary precinct? Do we, put Jersey barriers there on either end from Elgin all the way to Bay Street? There are logistical challenges with bus routes from the STO service in Quebec and OC Transpo, and then everything from, motorcades of visiting dignitaries. So we have to figure out what can be done on the short-term basis to protect that area so people don't come back next weekend thinking, hey, it's open up again, we can get back in. We don't want to make that mistake.
Mayor, do you think, and as we look ahead now, as you say what the short-term plan is going to be, but as we look ahead, do you think this situation will change or should change security in the area around those Parliament buildings, ensuring that there is always going to be proper access? This is not the first protest. There have been many, but none like this one. Do you think in part of that regrouping, that inquiry into all of this, that will have to be an important factor?
I think it will. Angie, often what happens when there's a security event, it acts as a catalyst to review all security plans. I'll give you a couple of good examples. When Corporal Cirillo was assassinated and shot at the War Monument, and then the gunmen went into the center block and started shooting up the Hall of Honor, all of a sudden, all of the policing protocols changed. It was no longer going to be House of Commons security and a separate Senate security, and they brought in the Parliamentary Protective Service. Remember, I'm old enough to remember when that bus was hijacked and it got stuck on the front lawn of Parliament Hill. I'm also old enough to remember when people could just drive their car literally under the Peace Tower to watch the Christmas lights. People used to bring their parents and grandparents, hop in the car, and go right up onto the hill and drive around. So no doubt that this will act as a catalyst for a complete review, as we should do, because this has been the most horrific challenge to our public safety in the history of the City of Ottawa. But we have to do a proper public review. There's also discussions now with Gatineau to have their train or their tram system come up on Wellington as well. So all of these things are going to have to be reviewed. But in the short term, we need to make sure that there are provisions so that people can't just be a copycat and say, hey, I'm going to go and drive on Wellington Street where this protest took place. So the sooner we get that mess cleaned up and get these people out of town, the quicker we can start to make those temporary measures and then think of a more permanent solution in the weeks ahead.